Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. No build-up show this week, of course, as Liverpool are on an extended break because we're terrible at cup football. But we thought, rather than leave you with an empty hole in your life, we thought we'd fill it non-sexually with a little bit of a chat. We asked you for some questions on Twitter. We picked the question of the week, and that question comes from Stein Carre. Do we need to buy a top striker ahead of next season if we qualify for Champions League? And if so, where does Firmino play? That's technically two questions, but, you know, 2 for 1, what value we're providing. I will give you more chat on value provided from our content a bit later on. Chris knows where I'm going with that, and you should too. Chris, I'll start with you. We did a little bit on this. We talked about target men on the subscriber show last week, and it's part 3 of the Where's It All Going Wrong at Liverpool, which is now all fine. Top line question then, do you think we need a top striker? And if we say top striker, maybe a little definition of what you would consider a top striker to be.
Yes, we do need a top quality striker at Liverpool Football Club, because right now I don't think we've got one. Not one single top striker in our squad. You know, Roberto Firmino's playing brilliantly as a forward, but I don't think he's a striker. Daniel Sturridge isn't in the form that you could say he's a top striker, and Divock Origi's not there yet, but he might well get there, and he probably will get there. It's the hardest position in football to fill. You know, to just get somebody who can start banging goals in. I think you'd have to strive to have at least 2 top quality strikers at your club. Probably you're aiming for 3-4. So yeah, without a doubt, there is room in this squad for it. What that definition would be for me is somebody like an Aubameyang. I'd love it to be Aubameyang, you know, but he's got everything. You know, even if, you know, looking a little bit closer to home, Diego Costa's a top striker. You know, maybe he doesn't have the pace of an Aubameyang, but he's got qualities that are great for this Premier League. But for me, you know, people will say this all the time, and they have said this, I've voiced this before, is, you know, when you come up against the low blocks, pace isn't accounted for. No, it's not. I understand that. But but it helps, of course. But for me, what a striker brings and what they would bring to this side is, you know, somebody who's playing, and I said this on this, is when the area is congested, someone who can find half a yard of space. Now, Firmino's doing an admirable job of playing up front, and I think he's been brilliant for us, and I wouldn't be looking to get rid of him in any way, shape or form. But when you need to create half a yard of space to get yourself into in the area that's compact, he's not used to doing that. Whereas a striker who's played there all their career from age 6 up until age 26 has got 20 years of experience to draw upon. They know where to be and how to position their body so that they can get a shot off. That's what I think we're missing. Yeah,
I think you look at it, Dad, because I think it's sort of semi-answering the second question. I don't think you need to worry about Firmino, because I think there's a horses for courses situation that we had last season when we had Europa League football, and with European football we'll see again, is that lots of games, different types of tools for different situations. But we've got Daniel Sturridge and we've got Origi there, who both should do better. And I think it's the question is, we've seen them play game time. What we probably could do with is, whether it's one of them guys who miraculously steps up, and it could be Origi because he's still young, we need that other guy to come in. We need someone else who fits our style of play, but can still score 15 plus goals a season.
Well, I think you sort of hit the nail on the head there, is that it isn't just a question of, do we buy a top quality striker? Because who wouldn't, you know, if there was one available? It's a question of, who do we buy that fits into the way we play football? And we've got a top quality striker in Daniel Sturridge, who clearly doesn't fit the way we play football. You know, and he's going to go. I'm fairly certain he'll leave in the summer, because why wouldn't you if you're not playing? We've got Danny Ings out for another year, who may never get back again. So we desperately do need to buy some top quality forwards. But one, I can't see us going out and spending 75 million on a top quality striker. But I can see us going out and buying people who will add to the front 3 that we've got now, which means buying people with pace. It means buying people who are good on the ball, who've got great movement. You know, like another Firmino, if you like, and another Mane, and another Coutinho.
No, that's actually a good point, because you could probably almost You look at what Griezmann's liable to go for. You know, he could end up going for another world record fee, going to Man United. For that price, you could buy another Coutinho, another Firmino, and another Mane, and sort your problems out. Because I think you're right. I think the Firmino stuff's interesting because we've seen I think you're right, Chris. Because he's not a centre forward, is he? He's not. He's a forward. He's not a striker. He's a forward. He's a 9.5. He's a 10. You know what I mean? Whatever. But look at the job he's doing. He's going to end this season probably on about, maybe if he has a really sensational end to the season, he could end up on 15 goals. 15 Premier League goals, which I think would be a really good return. It might not be quite that many. We've had centre forwards who do a job for the team, not score half as many goals as that. So there's definitely something to it. And as long as you or the guys around you are scoring a similar level of goals, I think it's fine. The problem is that I guess what the question sort of demands is a top quality centre forward who fits in with how we play, because I would contend we could change our style of play to get more out of Origi, and we could change our style of play to get more out of Sturridge. We're not prepared to do that, so you need to find someone who does it all, and that's a big ask, because I actually made a list of like the top goal scorers in the top leagues at the moment, and realistically, I mean, just picking some names who wouldn't be that. Lukaku wouldn't be that for us. Costa might be, but you're never getting Diego Costa from Chelsea. Aguero's not that, because if he was, Pep would be all over him at Manchester City. Kane might be that, but you're never getting Harry Kane, and he's not. We're talking about the pace thing. That's something he doesn't have.
Probably going to be the big thing for people this summer to buy.
Yeah.
And,
but if you listen to Evertonians, also he's never come to us.
He doesn't look like he'd fit any more than Benteke.
Exactly. You look at Germany.
You look at what Klopp has done in the past. Well, he bought Lewandowski. And he bought Aubameyang, didn't he, before he left? You know, neither of them would be classed as a top-class striker in Europe when he bought them. Yeah. So that's what we want him to buy. Yeah. We want him to buy someone who's going to cost a decent amount of money, who's got great potential, and who will fit into the style of play he's got. Well,
exactly. I think that's an interesting point. Just the last couple of days in there, you know, looking like Chicharito maybe. You know, obviously you mentioned Aubameyang, Iago Aspas. Going gangbusters in La Liga at the moment. Cavani, Lacazette's the only one that's on the...
Fernando Torres got a beaut last night.
He's an absolute pair. But it's the thing, Liverpool desperately do need someone to hang the hat on in that number, to wear that number 9 shirt, because we haven't filled it. We haven't filled it well, have we, Chris? You know, Fernando Torres being probably the last great example of a Liverpool number 9. But it's also worth remembering, and like historically, we've had great number 9s. We've had some of the greatest number 9s in the world playing for us. We still, all those great number 9s were exactly what my dad's saying there, like Klopp's done so far. They're not, when we've actually gone and spent big money, they've actually worked out less. You know, Djibril Cissé never cracked it, and he was big money at the time. You know, your Andy Carrolls and what have you. Diouf, we paid decent money for him, never cracked it. Whereas when we go on, I know we paid a lot for Torres, but it probably makes sense for us to find someone.
Andy Carroll.
Yeah, exactly. You know, go and find someone. Let's go and make someone into a top striker rather than worry about going.
Liverpool have never signed world-class players, have they? That's I think the thing, isn't it? Luis Suarez, all right, he wasn't the number 9 for Liverpool, but he wasn't on anyone's lips either before we signed him. You know, no one was thinking, oh, Luis Suarez, we've bought a world-class striker.
No one looked at him and went, they're best player in the world inside 5 years.
Exactly. So that's what Klopp and Liverpool can do, and I think that's probably the route that we will. You know, I look, do we need a top striker the next season? When you put it like that, look, of course you do. Of course you do.
I'd be all over that, yeah.
Who's going to turn that down, as you said, John? But I think that the route Liverpool will go is we'll go that tier below. Yeah. It won't be. We're not going to buy a world-class striker. We're going to buy someone who can get there pretty quick.
Top striker is all dependent upon. We need someone to be. We need a guy to be a top striker. We need a guy who scores. Life would be loads easier if we had a 20-goal a season centre forward playing for us. But it's the definition of top player. It doesn't mean go out and buy someone who is a top player. It just means that someone who becomes a top player playing for Liverpool, doesn't it? And that might be it would be nice to buy someone, saying this, who could come good in his first season for us, like, because we've got Origi there to grow into it. I would like to see us go out and buy someone who's 23-ish, because that's where we've had some great success. Torres and Suarez being a great example.
I'd love to see the other end of the scale as well, to be honest, Paul. I'd love to see somebody 29, 30 come in. You know, that you are getting them when they're maybe just past the best. But if it's a rotation thing that you're looking towards, you know, how old's Lewandowski now? I think he's 28. He'll probably be 29, 30 by 29 by next season and stuff. And you're like, something like that would work as well for me. Whether Liverpool are going to do that under FSG, I'm not so sure.
It's not even.
I would be happy with that.
Yeah, I think the problem with I get. I think it'd be more, as we've said in the past, it would be more Bellamy than Lewandowski, because Lewandowski, Chelsea would just buy him for 60 million, wouldn't he? At 29 years old, which is the problem we'd still be left with. But yeah, it would be if
it doesn't look like we'll ever compete with those top clubs for the top players. I mean, Morata who looks like he's going to go to City, doesn't he? And there are, you know, we're never going to be in the market for those kind of players. We're not going to be spending that kind of money. So we do have to find quality somewhere else and you know, developing his. I mean, let's find a good South American who doesn't get injured. Wouldn't that be great?
There's one residing in Barcelona.
Yeah, that's the other end of the scale is Luis Suarez. Let's tempt him.
Or a brother, younger brother.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think in the simplest sense, if nothing else, the options that we've got will have to change if we have Champions League football next season. They'll have to change if we have Europa League football next season. We don't have enough quality to play the way we play with the players that we've got available to. So
there's an argument that you're going to need as many as 8 players if you want to make that squad ready for a season that includes the Champions League.
Yeah.
And, you know, with the best will in the world, you're not spending 50 million on every one of them.
Well, exactly. Okay, well, people watching at home, let us know if you've got any suggestions for that. Who do you think fits the bill? Would be a realistic target. All well and good. To, you know, like Lacazette is probably the one who's still on the cusp. People still talk about, hasn't made that move, that step up yet. But is there someone that you know of who is, you know, a gem ready to come up out of somewhere? Maybe they're playing in Austria or whatever, they're playing in some of these other leagues. We might take a point at. Maybe it's another Eastern European or what have you.
Tell you what, as a fourth choice striker, we'll be playing in the Championship next year. Jamie Vardy wouldn't be a bad shout.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that actually. Okay, yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't done so already, give this video a thumbs up. And we're going to have 13 days straight of Champ Manager Challenge goodness. Those of you who've watched this will know what it's all about. Watch it again. Be amazed by how good Chris is as a fictional manager. It's the best thing we've ever done. It's great. As I say, an episode every single day on the Redmen YouTube channel. Watch it, like it, love it. Have a good time or something. Cheers. Bye.